Hey everybody, it's Connor. So this episode requires some context because there was a technical error. Something we don't see very often these days on the podcast is the audio just not recording, and it was doing some weird stuff. Thankfully, we caught it during the review of the first film we were talking about. Sadly, that file couldn't be recovered. So what is lost forever to just Dustin and my memories are the preamble to the show, which included some life updates, but also a very funny and now mythical reference and creation of a character called Thick Jim. And I'm very sad that Thick Jim, I reference him once we start rolling again, but it's too late. The best of Thick Jim is not to be shared with the world, unfortunately. You will not get to listen to the creation, the birth of Thick Jim. I'm sorry. Anyways, so what you missed too is me setting up that we're talking about the Beekeeper first, and why we're talking about the Beekeeper, which is because we did an episode a few weeks ago where Kellen insisted I watch the Beekeeper. So, and then I gave my thoughts on it, which I basically reiterate after Dustin gives his thoughts. So we'll open the episode essentially on Dustin's thoughts about the Beekeeper, and then we'll join in progress, and everything will be fine after that. So I'm sorry you won't get to meet Thick Jim. I'm so sorry. It's your loss. It really is. It's my fault, but it's your loss. Thick Jim forever.
I don't know, man. It's just kind of run of the mill for me. So I was like, I have no interest in another one. It's the same thing with like Nobody, right? Like I know they're doing a sequel to Nobody, and I'm like, well, okay, fine. But to me, all of these are just like, clones of John Wick at this point. And so I'm like, John Wick is like setting the bar for what these films should be, and everything else can't quite rise above the idea of parody. It's like everyone else tries to be corny about it. And I'm like, but John Wick, it's deadly serious, but it's also got like this weird tongue-in-cheek thing that never really is tongue-in-cheek. Like it thinks it's really cool. And all of these other movies are like, I don't know if we can hit that, so let's just be a little corny with it. And it doesn't quite work for me. So would I see another one? I don't know. If it was free and, it was there and it was short enough, maybe. But I don't know. I'm not enthused.
All right. Well, the bad news is, the good news is we got all of your thoughts on the Beekeeper.
No.
The bad news is we lost every reference to Thick Jim.
No. No.
So R.I.P. Thick Jim. You were you were
never meant for this world.
You were cast into the Spartan pile as soon as you were birthed. Thick Jim is now Sick Jim.
Yes.
All right. All right. Well, there goes our famous preamble. Oh man, I'm actually upset about that. Anyways, all right. Okay. So
are you're recording now, though?
I'm recording now.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I agree that the movie is definitely run of the mill and kind of stock. For that reason, I think that if you like, low bandwidth action films that just kind of end and there's not much to have to keep track of or think about, it's perfect for delivering exactly what you probably want in a low bandwidth action movie. Or as Kellen and I like to call them, a butt movie.
Yes.
He says the movie version of Butt Rock.
Yes. That it's very true. It's exactly that. It's like almost an imitation of something good. It's trying really hard to be something good, and it doesn't quite reach it, but it's kind of funny regardless. I mean, I'll admit, look, there's some interesting things that happen in the movie that make it fun and funny to watch, but like it's not doing anything that I haven't seen before. And so like I can't get enthused about it. So like for me, I guess if I gave it a star rating, it's 3, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like it exists, it does its thing, it leaves, it doesn't make you angry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also not aspiring to give you anything more, and it doesn't. Yeah, I feel like it's just one of those things where like I'm not a huge Jason Statham fan. So your mileage varies there. But for me, I thought the character was fairly interesting. Like the idea of the beekeeper, like that world is kind of interesting. It's like a group of folks who exist outside of all red tape. They have carte blanche, can do whatever they want. No one can stop them. They exist to hold accountable all the people that aren't typically held accountable. And so when this guy, which it's funny that he's was he a beekeeper who became a beekeeper, or was he a beekeeper who became a beekeeper? I'm very confused. He's so sold out to his job that he became a literal beekeeper.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those symptoms of like we thought of the name of the we thought of the name of the movie before we wrote it. What if he actually keeps bees, and it'll be like a running yes. What do you call it? That's a joke, sir. Yeah, a joke.
A joke, yeah. Something like that. Well, yeah, but like I don't know, man. Like I'm of two minds. I like the idea that, Jason Statham plays this really stoic, kind of like neutral character who he's angry, of course, and he's upset, but like he never plays it upset. Yeah. And I like that. It makes it different from a lot of Jason Statham's other roles, but at the same time, part of me feels like it would have been at least a little bit of a better character if he was allowed to show his emotion, but then it becomes a little too Wickish, right? Like John Wick certainly shows his emotion and his loss. And you really feel like the angst after all that happens. So I don't know. They were just trying to do like the Clint Eastwood, even keeled man with no name type thing. It's almost it's really Rambo-ish is what it is. It's John Rambo in Last Blood. He's just like, I'm just here. And I don't know. I'm of two minds about it. It's like a lot of these things, I like them, but I also kind of want to hold it against the movie for not aspiring to do more. So it's a weird movie for me.
Yeah, like I recommend it, but it's not like a strong recommendation. It's just, it'll satisfy what you're looking for. If you see that banner and watch the trailer and go, I think I'll enjoy this, you'll probably will.
You probably
just
will.
Keep your expectations low. Don't get angry when he sticks around in a room, says a catchy line, and then bolts for a door while he's getting shot at with automatic weapons and no one hits him. It's like, okay. Yeah. Well, see, that's not that cool. I don't like that. Sure. It's comforting to know that nothing bad is going to happen to him in the whole film. It's nice to like not be that worried and just to be able to enjoy watching him, take out. But the like big boy part of my brain was like, yeah, but you're killing like federal agents and stuff. That's kind of weird. Yeah. Like it'd be a lot better if like every one of those guys was like a sex trafficker or something, like something where it's just like, it's okay. Keep killing them,
Well, I'm okay with the idea that he is, that as a beekeeper, you're so focused on the goal. I don't care who I kill, but he betrays that when he doesn't kill the main female character and her partner. Yeah. I'm like, you know, I mean, if they're in your way, just plow through them. Like, I'm okay with that as a concept of like, I don't care. I don't make sides. If you're good and you're in my way, you get shot. If you're bad and you're in my way, you also get shot.
Yeah, I actually didn't like her as a character at all. Like I liked her partner, but the woman from the Umbrella Academy, I didn't like her character at all. I couldn't really it was just. Did you ever see Torque?
No, I didn't.
So it was an early Adam Scott film role, and he plays like a Fed, and he's in like Converse. He's like wearing like a t-shirt with his suit, and he's like, what do you expect? Like, cheap haircut, like, he's just he brought some personality to his character.
Sure.
And it feels like they were trying to do that here, like with this burnt out federal agent. It's like this woman is like pissed drunk on the job though. Doesn't dress like a professional. And I know this is the FBI, but like you go into, I don't know. It's just like, it's not even like, it's just more like, oh, okay. Like there's a dress code if you're going to go into the field office, I'm pretty sure. Like, and you probably can't be drunk on the job. Like I'm sure, you know what I mean? Like just stuff like that where I was like, okay. And I thought it was going to like come to a point and it really just doesn't. They don't service her character really at all.
Well, that's what I was going to say is if they had paid off the fact that she was like this, completely burnt out government agent who, finds a new reason to carry on or whatever the case, like that's schmaltzy, but like at the same time, like that's something that happens, you know what I mean? Like that's a character going through something. That's all I'm looking for. But yeah, it never comes. You'd almost expect that at some point, someone above her goes, I'm not listening to you because you clearly have issues or we're taking you off the case because you've got issues. Or I kept thinking, what is the actual reason that this is her mother that got swindled in the beginning?
Yeah.
It does not play any importance in the plot at all. So you would think at some point she was going to like appeal to Jason Statham by saying like, this is not what my mother would have wanted or, whatever, like just something to be like, you think you knew her, you didn't know her, or you were just a whatever to her. She told like some kind of something, some reason for it to be her mother, but there's no reason for it. And it doesn't play into any kind of characterization for her where like, at the midpoint and the low point of the film, she has a breakdown of like, I've lost my mom and I can't get a hold of this case and I'm struggling here.
Yeah.
Like I've been an alcoholic. Like I can't get my life together and now my mom's gone and this dude is killing agents and no one can stop him, whatever, right? Just something like give me some reason for her to like for it to be her mom and for her character to be this burnt out kind of character, then we got a story going. But as it is, it's just kind of like, okay. I don't know. It's stuff like that drags it down for me. So Josh Hutcherson was an interesting character in the film. I thought he did a great job.
I thought he did too.
He was kind of chewing some scenery and like, that's kind of what the movie needed at that point.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, I didn't know what it was trying to be. And to that end, it's almost like we mentioned this a minute ago, but it's like it is John Wickish, but it's also like an 80s action movie where, like you said, there's no chance of him getting harmed in this film. Like he's going to come out on top the way that Stallone always did and Schwarzenegger always did. Like they were going to win. And like even the like ragdoll, of the guy attached to the car is very like, I was thinking of like Best of the Worst. Like that's a moment that you watch with your friends and you're like, hey, yeah. But like, maybe this is partially like my lack of enthusiasm is that I watched it alone.
Yeah.
But, it's strange because it is that style of movie. And Josh Hutcherson plays a modern version of that eccentric 80s bad guy. And he does it very well.
Yeah.
And now the twist with his mom, where she's the president, saw that coming a mile away. I don't know about you. The first time they showed her, I was like, president.
Yeah.
But okay. And I also would have, I think with her character specifically, it was hard to get a gauge on her because I think they want you to think she's like complicit in some way.
Yeah.
In the thing, but then later it was like Josh Hutcherson was saying like, you were going to lose, Mom. I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
So it's like she didn't know anything about it. I was waiting for another twist because the FBI agent was in there. The FBI director was in there. I was waiting for another twist where the
fuck me. Speaking of a twist,
just karate chopped your microphone.
My microphone is my microphone is trying to yeet itself out of this thing.
I kept waiting for another twist where it's like the whole thing was performative.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you didn't know, like, I did this for you, Mom. And she was like, hey, no one asked you to do that. And then later it's revealed that the whole thing was a performance. And of course she was involved.
It's like in Scream. She turns around and goes, we all go a little crazy sometimes. She just shoots the deputy director.
Yeah.
Starts scratching her head with the gun. Surprise, Sydney.
But like I liked their dynamic. I wish there was more done with the president. Like I as it is, she's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And she served no real purpose. Like if there was more of a reason for Josh Hutcherson being the way that he is related to what she was doing that was also back deal shady or whatever, or I don't know. There just needed to be something more to her character than I'm dumb and my son rigged the election for me and I never knew that until now. But I knew he's kind of a bad egg. But you know what I mean? Like there's just there wasn't enough to that character, and that's kind of like par for the course for the whole movie. There just wasn't enough to any of these characters, apart from maybe Jason Statham. Like he was fine. There was enough. It wasn't like an exceptional amount, an amount to make it above average, but it was certainly like, okay, I've got enough to know what I need to know. But yeah, I don't know, man. It was a weird one. I also think the actors, or not the actors, well, I mean, it is the performance, but like the way that the characters are written that like are the managers of those branches or whatever that are dressed in the goofy suits and they're like,
oh, like the
hey,
call
show
centers?
me the money, everybody. Yeah. It's like stuff like that. I was like, this is interesting, but it's not funny. And it's also not like cool. So I don't know what it is. It's just interesting that they were painted that way.
I like the idea that someone sat down with that writer and said, hey, I know that like scammers, like it's easy to hate scammers. Is it possible to hate scammers more? What if they were really smug about it?
Yes. One of my favorite Letterboxd reviews that I saw said it was like LOL at the Wolf of Wall Street characters that were dressed like Two-Face from Batman Forever.
That's exactly what it felt like. It was like
it was very Batman like, Forever.
It was both of those things. It was just like Wolf of Wall Street to me. Like I agree with that. Yeah. They may have literally said, "Let's go make some fucking money."
Right. But it's
Let's
true.
Scam
like
this old lady.
It felt like Val Kilmer's Batman was going to come through the skylight at any point. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, it's fun, it's funny, but like it's never really super clever or cool or like actually comedic. So it didn't know. I don't think it really knew what tone it was going for. And honestly, like I like David Ayer as a person, as a filmmaker, but I feel like some of his movies are that way for me. They tend to be tonally unsure. Like I felt that way about Bright. I wasn't sure what tone it was actually going for there. End of Watch had a good tone. Like I felt solid, and Fury felt solid. But like, I don't know. It just seems like, so maybe I'm just comparing it to Bright, but like Bright certainly had that issue. And I think this one had the same thing. It just didn't quite know what tone it was going for. But like, I don't know, man, there were some, I don't know, some fun kills, even if they weren't like clever. Like I'm going to saw the guy's fingers off. Okay, cool. I've seen a variation of that before, but like, okay, that's neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Middle of the road.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
But not a bad way to spend whatever it is, an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
Not a terrible way to spend that time, but probably could have used a rewrite.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to another thing.
Okay.
So, in preparation for Deadpool 3, which by the time this episode drops, that's coming out next weekend. So, I finally got around to rewatching the Deadpool movies. I rewatched Deadpool 2. Deadpool 1 was a while back, and I've seen that more than I've seen Deadpool 2. I've only seen Deadpool 2 once. So it's on it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And so I watched it, and I remember at the time that I watched Deadpool 2 that I didn't like it much. And upon this rewatch, I think I liked it better this time. Did you? You never saw this one, did you?
No, I didn't.
I like it better than I did the first time. What it's got over the first one is it's got more. The David Leitch, I can never say that guy's name. David Leitch directed this, so John Wick 1, Bullet Train, Nobody, right? Isn't he involved in Nobody? Did he direct Nobody?
Producer, I think.
He might have produced it. He's involved. I know that. So it's got more action and more fun action and better characters than the first one. The first one is just the Deadpool show, and then you've got Negasonic and Colossus, and then the villain sucks. The relationship with the girl with Marina Baccarin is really strong, and I like that. But I can't really stand the TJ Miller character. But the first Deadpool is good just as a solid introduction of this character on screen, and some fun action. You can do it's really fun to do action when your character is invincible. You really gotta milk that. There's stuff you can do that you can't do, so you gotta lean into that. And they do that even more in this movie, which is really good. And there's a lot more of Deadpool's competency as an assassin here, which is good. And there's a kid in this one. I can't remember the actor's name. I don't have anything pulled up, but he's the kid from The Hunt for the Wilder People. He's he's that kid, that New Zealand kid. And he's in here, and I don't think that kid's a very strong actor. I'm just not he's a big part of why I wasn't a fan of that film.
Sure.
And so having him here, it's like, all right, like you can have the kid just swearing and whatever, but it's okay. It's just not a strong point of the film, in my opinion.
Sure. And
there were parts where the script was just a tad too lazy in the third act, but I do think it's a more satisfying watch than the first movie. I think more happens. I think the addition of Josh Brolin as Cable is a really strong element of it. A very strong element of it. It just, there's time, especially in the third act, there's just times where at one point, Deadpool's sitting there and you think he's dying, and he dies 4 times. It takes a whole lot of it's like a mock tearful goodbye, and it's like it just never ends, and you're like, okay, stop, this is horrible, and this is such it almost ruins the movie. It's so overlong. It just overstays its welcome so bad. I almost jumped through the screen and strangled him myself. I think that'd be the fifth wall if I did that. Yeah, but I would if I were to, but it kind of renewed. I mean, I'm looking forward to Deadpool 3 anyway, just because it's technically it's under new studio management and we've got Hugh Jackman, but it shows like if you get a character in there by a good actor like Josh Brolin or Hugh Jackman, like there's a lot more potential for him to have chemistry with someone and play off of someone instead of just kind of up there on stage by himself being silly and everyone else is being serious. Like, it's a little bit better, I think. Better than the first time.
Okay. I've never been keen on the Deadpool character, so I just haven't ever watched any of these films. I am vaguely interested in Deadpool and Wolverine, if only because of Hugh Jackman, but and just to see what happens with the multiverse and whatever else. But but I agree with your assessment that Deadpool does seem to work best when he's paired with somebody. Like I remember in one of the cartoons, he's paired with Spider-Man, and there was some Marvel team up comics where he got paired with different people, and it's like that always worked better. But I'm just not a fan of the character. Whatever. But because he's paired with Hugh Jackman in this next one, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll see it, but I'm not going back to watch the other ones.
All right. Another thing I checked out, actually two things I checked out, but these are a couple things you've actually seen. Okay. So I don't have much to say. I just sort of wanted to let you know I saw them. I saw Godzilla Minus One.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. It was I guess it was on Netflix. When did I watch this? Oh, I think I know what I did. Anyway, I secret watched it. Godzilla Minus One was finally on Netflix, and you had given it such a good review, so I went and checked it out myself, and I thought it was cool. I don't have much else to say other than it was pretty awesome. It was fun to it was really cool that for most of the movie not having Godzilla in it, that I was I cared, and I was rooting for. I really liked the idea that the governments and the powers that be had kind of fucked over everybody, or they're not doing what they need to be doing. And so the people need to kind of citizens ally together and save their city. I thought that was pretty cool. Probably really cool. Really, probably even better if you're Japanese watching that movie too.
Probably.
Right. You can actually feel some national pride. But it was pretty cool. And I liked the whole dogfight element of the third act. And I thought every time Godzilla was on screen, I was like, this is terrifying. And it was really well done. And people should, if you're listening to this part of the podcast, you want to hear it again. Now it's two of us recommending this movie. So pretty cool. Great. I'm glad it won the visual effects, and it like we said back in that episode, it's just a good lesson for filmmakers. But I also saw Minari.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that was a little bit longer ago, but I liked it too. I movies, especially centered around people who live on farms and stuff, they tend to catch my eye, and it's all in the pace of the filmmaking, whether or not that's just so boring or if it's very engrossing. And it was engrossing. And it was, everyone's performances are so good, and especially the kids. And what a great movie. Yeah. I thought it was very good. It's such a good performance for Stephen Yeun, and the whole thing is so good. And of course the little kid just kills it, and the old lady that plays the grandmother also, she's fantastic. Great. Yeah, it's
Man, what a good ensemble cast.
Really great ensemble cast for sure. Yeah, Minari's great. That was on Max. I saw that.
That's an A24 film, right?
Yes.
So here's where I'm at with A24. I was thinking about this the other day. So A24 has put out a lot of these, like, you know, for those of you who don't know, like these more prestige, like horror movies and, you know, some prestige dramas, but they operate with like this very high bar of, you know, authorship, or at least what feels that way. And so I've seen a fair amount of A24 films at this point, and I feel confident in saying their taste in horror doesn't interest me, but their drama does. So whether it's Minari or The Farewell, which is just one of my favorite movies like ever, that kind of stuff really, really interests me. And there's no other studio that's making anything like that right now. So that's what separates A24 for me. It's almost like, in my mind, I'm conflating this a little bit, but it feels like the feeling of HBO or AMC in the renaissance of like TV, when The Sopranos or Breaking Bad or Mad Men was on. It felt like, oh, these are stories that no one could ever tell before, and they can still only be told right here. And that's kind of the way the A24 feels for me. And so it's drama I'm totally in on, but I'm not so keen on the horror stuff that they've put out.
It's just mixed for me. I really love Midsummer.
Yeah.
You know, but A24's name means something to me, but it does all come down to interest ultimately. You know, it just you still gotta create that need for me, you know.
Sure.
Well, speaking of A24, I've got, actually this is a new one, but I'm still not going to pull the trailer music for it. I can watch Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Okay.
I was going to have a Yorgos Lanthimos weekend, and then The Favorite disappeared from Hulu. And so I was upset. But Killing of a Sacred Deer was on Max, I think. And so I watched it. This is, I don't have the page pulled up, but this is written and directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. It stars Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, Barry Keoghan, however you say his name. And it's about a family who is, you know, kind of preyed upon by a troubled teenager, basically. But it's in a very A24 and Yorgos Lanthimos type of way.
Sure.
It's apparently, I can't recommend it to the general audience. Cause this is apparently I had to do a bunch of research. This is an adaptation of like a Greek tragedy. It's basically, so it's one of those movies that's really well made. It's just not that entertaining to watch. But it's very fun to have watched it and then dive into like video essays on YouTube after the fact.
Sure.
So very much in the same way that, you know, movies based on true stories are probably most responsibly enjoyed if you watch them and then go do some research on the actual subject later. It's like a whole holistic process where the film is like a gateway to understanding. So if you do enjoy that holistic process, then it's worth a watch. But if you prefer to watch movies where when they're over, you go, I feel like I understood that. And that's really what a good movie does. It doesn't beg further research. It doesn't require it. It can enrich it, but it shouldn't require it. This movie requires it unless you're like a literary professor. So if you're just looking to be entertained and be told a regular story with, you know, just good and evil characters and just this isn't it. So I wouldn't recommend this to like your grandfather or my dad or my brother. You know, as like an entertaining film. It's more just like, you know, if you want to watch Yorgos Lanthimos' films like I'm doing, and you want to understand it, you're gonna have to go do some interneting after
dig.
the fact.
Yeah.
But it's still, all it takes is one of those essays, and you go, oh,
got it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But it's humbling in that sense to have studied film and to finish a movie and go, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be taking from this. And then you watch like a 7-minute essay and you're like, oh,
got it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And some teenager told me, it's like, all right.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, to save your pride, I'll say someone probably told that teenager and they're just parroting it on YouTube.
That's true. Okay. Speaking of horror, kind of.
Okay.
Not really, but like a thriller.
Horror-ish.
I went back. I don't know when I first saw this movie. I definitely have seen it before, but it's been a long time. I went back and watched Panic Room.
Oh, okay.
So I was going to do this for my, whatever it was, 2002 list or whatever. And it never was available. And I never got around to it. Panic Room is directed by David Fincher and it stars Jodie Foster, Kristen Stewart. We've got Forrest Whitaker and Jared Leto. Dwight Yoakam is in this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it holds up.
Okay.
It's well made. Panic Room is one of those movies that I feel like people know what it's about basically because it's a very simple premise. And the term Panic Room probably didn't enter like the popular lexicon until this movie came out. Like like they didn't call them panic rooms. They probably called them like safe rooms or whatever. So Panic Room is about a divorced woman and her daughter just bought this brownstone in New York. And then like their first night in there, there's a home invasion. These guys break in. And so they go into the panic room, but the guys are like, what we want is in the panic room. And it's like, what do we do? And so it's just like this whole thing of them destroying any way that they can escape or get help and them trying to figure out how, and there's but the girl needs like this diabetes medicine or something that's not in there with them. And so like, she's going to bottom out at some point. And, and then there's internal conflict among the robbers. It's really good stuff.
Sure. Okay.
It's very well made. Great tension. David Fincher's storytelling flair really adds to the movie. There's several basically like full CG composite shots of just like zooming through objects in the house as the guys are trying to get in. So from like entrance to entrance, like we have a lot of like tracking through floors and stuff. And it's just really well done. And it's absolutely necessary to telling that story well. Instead of just doing standard coverage and cutting to doors and stuff, you understand the geography of the house immediately. It's real good stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love David Fincher. So if you haven't seen Panic Room, it's on Max, and I just rewatched it, and it was worth it. So
nice.
Yeah, that's one. Okay, we got time for one more.
Sure, go for it.
I watched that new documentary Brats.
Oh, okay.
Or as I thought it was going to be Brats. I thought it was going to be about hot dogs.
I thought this was about sausages. What is this about?
I sat down and I was like, all right, let's get to the food. And it was like
almost July 4th. Let's get to these brats.
It's like, well, let's talk about John Hughes. And I was like, excuse me?
What?
So Brats is a documentary by which one of the Brat Pack is it? Andrew McCarthy. So it's about the Brat Pack. It's about all those stars from the 80s, Emilio Estevez and Ali Sheedy and Molly Ringwald, Demi Moore, Timothy Hutton. And it's really an exploration of how that moniker, which was applied to them by a journalist, Rob Lowe also, how that label defined them and their feelings about it. Andrew McCarthy is one of the Brat Pack, so it's definitely like a personal subject for him. And so he gets a few of them on camera to talk about it. I don't think Molly Ringwald appears on camera. But Emilio Estevez does. And a lot of them just haven't really talked to Emilio Estevez hasn't talked about it with anybody. Like he says he's asked all the time for like magazine profiles and stuff. And he's always like, I don't want to talk about that. Like I want to move on. So it's fine. It's going to hit differently for Gen Xers who were old enough to remember this instead of people like us who know what it is, but we never saw these people like on the news or whatever. Like, we were too young. So it can be appreciated by a lot of people, but it's more just like, again, it's an addendum. It's like I feel like to fully appreciate it, you probably need to, that's the thing about anything but straight fiction in film has to have whatever context you're bringing to it. If you don't know anything about like Prince Harry and Prince Meghan, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, then you can kind of just absorb their docuseries, and that's your only take on the royal family is the perspective of two people who are soured on it versus having your own perspective and having this added to it and coloring it. So I feel like so many documentaries, unless it's about a specific event that's never been told before, where we're just adding a perspective on top of like the cultural consciousness, I feel like that kind of stuff, it's easier as you age to know whether or not it's any good. So as a millennial, I can't say like, oh, it wasn't informative, because it's more just adding the perspectives of the actors themselves in 2024 to this moniker. And a lot of them didn't, some of them didn't appreciate it, felt like it had a negative connotation. Some of them were like, well, at the same time, like it kind of made our careers and it opened doors. And so you kind of have to appreciate it. So, there's no like, oh, bombshell, like, whoa, like really cool defining moment of the thing. So it's a very steady, it's more just like, hey, do you want to see Emilio Estevez
talk about it?
Do you want to see Demi Moore talk about it?
Sure.
Hey, you probably haven't seen Ali Sheedy in a while. You want to see her talking about it? Yeah. It's pretty much just that. So low band, nothing to rush out and see. But if you were curious, it's not like it's a horrible documentary. It's just meets expectations. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Not bad. Just. Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. Ooh. Sweet. That's all I got. I don't know. What's the strongest? I like the strongest recommendation of the night is probably Panic Room. Okay. Yeah. Nice. So, Okay. But we're never here to like tell people like, I recommend you keep a list. Yeah. Also, I recommend you set an alarm for your medicine. Hey. This is going to happen every single time. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. I keep a list and it's a tad weird that I like know I'm going to watch like weeks out basically. Yep. But I promise you it's the only way I can live my life is to do this. So if you keep, whether you keep a calendar like I do or a Google Doc like I also do, and you just have a stack of things you're checking out, just put it in your stack. Add to the stack. There you go. So. Sweet. Okay. All right then. Cool, man. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. It's the 19th. So what are you watching? Oh, next episode you get to hear is 4 Things We Like and then Knuckles. So nice. Enjoy that. Cool. All right, everyone. Yes. All right. Toodles. Bye. Bye-bye. Thick Jim forever.